Hello, Internet. Well. This is being recorded on Friday the 13th. What a happy day. We've had all sorts of glitches. Well, not really. Um, if you hear wind noise, it's because there is one serious windstorm blowing in my little valley. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, we're welcoming back an old friend. Ja, dag sê hierso, welkom weer. We've got one of the Vikings. Ziggy Hentze is back for part 3 of his conversation. Now, I'm going to say to Ziggy, he thinks it may be the last one. No, don't limit yourself. Chat away and talk to us about what you're going to talk to us about. I have a faint suspicion you might be mentioning your PF days and the likes. So I'll leave it all over to you. Welcome, Ziggy. Always great to chat with you. Join me in welcoming Ziggy. Ziggy, off you go.
Welcome, viewers. Welcome, Fossi. Yeah, on Friday the 13th, like Fossi said, we came on a bit late. I mean, it doesn't bother you, the viewer, but our time slots, Friday the 13th, not that it ever's bothered me. All right, I want to start off with corrections. In one of my previous videos, I had a photo of a Bushman with a gash in his head. It wasn't the guy that photo is one of the Kandandu squad. That was one of the guys that basically did the maintenance in the unit. I took that in 1984, and well, that's quite a while ago already. And I assumed it might have been him, but it's not him. Ben corrected me there. So it's not the guy. I would love to get a photo of that guy if he's still alive. All right, but so that's one correction number one. Correction number two, I mentioned the chef that we had. I said Pedro. Now, my family will probably laugh now because once I get a name stuck in my head, it sits there, and they got to correct me the whole time. That's my ouderdom. But at the end of the day, the guy, the chef I'm referred to in a previous interview was Felix, not Pedro. Pedro actually was, I think, a corporal, but Pedro is known from Seven de Laan. He's an actor in South Africa, and yeah, he's also involved with the Nando's sauces that you buy on your shelf. But Pedro was a 3-1 battalion member too. I think I have a photo somewhere which I'll source and Fossi can post. But he's of the Seven Line. I don't watch soapies, but at the end of the day, my wife told me this guy is an actor, and well, he wasn't acting in these days in 3-1 battalion, but yeah. So Pedro, I don't even know what his surname is, but I'll find that out too, was our chef. Ah, sorry, Pedro was, see, there I get confused again. Pedro was a member later, and Felix was the chef. So that's one correction. Then the last correction was, of course, mentions a karate expert and so and so. Sorry, boys, I'm just a normal karate guy. I will discuss my karate in this background to my karate in this episode. But expert now. I was a punching bag for the experts, but all in fun in any case, and still active at my age. I actually have got a special class on Sunday, so yeah. Don't ask me why I don't go to church. I fall asleep in church not because the minister bores me. I don't hear, and try and wear hearing aids and see how frustrating that is. So yeah, so I will be. My wife goes to church, and I will basically do my sport, looking after my health. It's a God-given gift too. So yeah, all right. Let me move on. After 3-1 Battalion, a quick little recap. In one of my interviews, I think I mentioned entering um, exam to Michaelis, where that's the art school of UCT. I think it's a wing of theirs in any case, but I had to do an entry test, pencil sketches and all that kind of things. Sadly, I was up on the border when I did this, so I did it on with any means I basically could have. You draw an egg, a matchbox, and to see the perspective, well, to see if you've got any art in you. So this thing, obviously being a big envelope with a lot of objects in, went through a lot of security on the border. Nothing leaves the border unless it's scrutinized. So my entry got there late, and obviously I didn't make it for the next year, for 1980, at Michaelis. But they gave me a compromise and said I didn't have to enter for the year 1981. Most of the viewers weren't probably even born then. But in any case, so yeah, I sat around doing nothing. I had planned to go and study, and as it be, the odds were against me, and I had to do something. So for 3 months, I sat around, mostly in a sports club, soccer club. I played soccer too, believe it or not. But at the end of the day, I sat every evening having a two to two in the club, and my danger pay was good. I mean, there was nothing to spend your money on at Omega, so it had, my post office little bookie was quite full, and my folks obviously not being demanding folks, looked after me to all bore with me with my issues and stuff. But I also applied for a security job at, this is a joke to me, I applied for a security job at the Rossing mine. I had a friend over there who was sort of second in charge, but the system said, you're too young. Now, I paused there because you're too young. But the army didn't say, you're too young. And you've heard my experience, what I've been through. And not even that, experience was enough to be a security guard on a mine. With my training, everything, my experience. But in any case, that's the gist of life. People look down at the army, the training we had. I'm sorry. Till today, I've got no degree behind my name. I run businesses, I'm on committees. I base a lot of my experience and my ability through the responsibility that was given to me by the army. And yes, by the leaders I had. I had good leaders. And I really say this with no tongue in the cheek, Jorge being one, Swazi being one, and the whole team. We were a great team, and it was trial and error, and that trial and error you bring over to real life. You must remember one thing about the army. You go off into the bush, you hundreds of miles away from any support. You always had to think and improvise. And that is lacking, I say, that is lacking in the youth of today. You've never been, you go, you get your degree, good for you. But start thinking out of the box. That guide that you wrote the exam on is just a guide. It's like a pilot climbing in an airplane because he read a book. No, he needs that experience before he goes. Many jobs don't. So yeah, I credit the army and my friends and leaders on my ability of where I've come. Because today you will hear my walk of life. Bumpy one, but we used to potholes already in Africa. So we either go through them or around them, or we build a bridge, but we survive. All right. I get sidetracked. I've got that. Oh yeah. I also, in the meantime, I got a call, not a call, I got a message from a girl asking me about Terence Phillipson. Now, Terence Phillipson, I need to mention, he was also a Charlie Company, 31 Battalion. I think he was in platoon 4 or 1. I think he was with Garth van Niekerk. But Terence Phillipson was a PTI, and I would like to mention him today because the girl is his son's girlfriend, and she contacted me asking me for photos of his father. Now, that brings me to the point of many people say the youth are not interested. You're wasting your time. A lot of people have told me, Ziggy, why waste your time with legacy? I'm not wasting my time. My time is limited. You are throwing your time away. You are throwing a part of the history away. remember, in 10 years' time, may no longer be here, but at least look at the title of this, legacy. It doesn't make me an important person. It just makes me telling what I experienced in my life. And yeah, sometimes people learn from these. In my 3D art and stuff, I share. People ask me questions. I get questions from all over the world. I share. I've got messages where people say, "You are my mentor. Thank you. Look where I've come." Well, my life in 3D started the same way. In 2003, I think around there, I decided to go the route of 3D. I didn't have courses. I went YouTube, and it was limited. Now I'm telling you, anyone who wants to challenge any. So back to Terence Phillipson.
Yes.
I got photos from Donnie last night, and young man, yeah, I will post. I have sent them to him already, but I will send it to Fossey, and Fossey can post pictures of Terence. Um, Terence, talk about Terence quickly. PTI, the guys who know the army, PTI is a physical instructor, and moeilike man. And yeah, I'm also a moeilike guy. We weren't fond of each other. I have to be honest. And at the end of the day, yeah, that's the thing with young guys. It's like if you look at the cock in the pen, he basically each cock think he's the main guy, the main rooster in the pen. But at the end of the day, I have to mention, so I don't know if I mentioned in my previous interviews or talks. Terence and I, one evening in the pub, picked up a issue, and this was the way things worked at 3-1 Battalion. We picked up an issue, and yeah, we wanted to sort each other out. George DeWill from the Boxer family, being Terence's platoon sergeant. Remember, I said we had 2 corporals, white corporals per platoon, due to the language barrier, the culture barrier. And George said no. The 2 of us, and we went around the corner. One of the senior NCOs went with, and it was no one else was allowed to go with. There was a dust walk around the corner. That's in the evening where the dartboard was, if those who know the pub. And whoops, they came back in, bit of blood here and there, and they sat down. And Terence had given George, you, I'm exposing this one for you, but Phillipson had sorted George out. They sat down, and we carried on drinking. No issues. Went to bush after that. That was the way life was at the 3-1 Battalion. You sorted your problem and you moved on. So, young man, I didn't get your name. I think it's on the. Well, I'm not going to look now, but you will know. Your girlfriend did mention your name. I have spoken to your mom in the past. She was on our membership list. I have got emails somewhere that I got from her those days. Time has moved on. We've changed our web page and stuff. So I used to control the web page before, but I don't anymore. So I've lost a lot of contact with a lot of people. But irrelevant of that, that's enough of 3-1. Now we go over to Ziggy. After 3 months of partying every evening, wasting my danger pay, one morning I was on the way on a fishing trip with my brother-in-law, all rigged up in his Ford. What was that? I can't remember but in any case, this fancy yellow Ford. But in any case, we fishing rods, everything, and a call came in from a guy from Cola Corrugated, the factory manager, and he told my mom I must come for an interview. I said to them, but I'm ready. I'm dressed up in fishing clothes, broken jeans, and all that. And the guy said, no, come just as you are. All right. I rocked up. My brother-in-law and sister sat in the car waiting for me, and I went for my first interview. Sitting down at this interview, I had a German guy, Günter Krause, who ended up being one of my students even later on, older than me, but still, we had a good chat. And the gist of it all is the guy asked me, what would you like as a remuneration? Oh, holy moly. I'd come out of the army. I've been out for 2 years out of society, not knowing anything, not understanding the business rule, what salaries were. I was caught off guard. So I said to him, I don't know. So he said to me, well, it's just an indication. And yeah, I then said, well, my pay in the army was, as a corporal, was 100, with my danger pay, I think combined, was about 150. It was money those days in any case. It doesn't sound good now, and the guy had said to me, it's only an indication. And lo and behold, I got the job. I think 2 weeks after that, I started, and I got 150. So and I started on the 1st of April. Take note, April Fool. At the end of the day, I was fooled, and I got 150. I ended up in a production planner position, and then contacted. Look, my dad had passed away just before the army, 6 months before 6 months before I entered the army. My dad had passed, so you go away, you forget about it. There's no time to sit and mope and to play Yamagad Yanni in the army. It's move, move, move. So your mind never focuses on what after the army. And yeah, there I was now in a position. I went to the lawyer and asked the lawyer, because my dad's will did say that we could study. That's a story on its own. I mean, never trust the lawyer. Sorry, all my lawyer friends, but this is the truth in my life. And it said, providing that provision is made for my children to have the highest standards of studying. Now, that overrules anything, provided that the lawyer won't hear it because he's no longer with us. I think so, all right. So, like I said, don't ever trust the lawyer, and I apologize to my lawyer friends, each unto their own. But at the end of the day, I got money from my dad's lawyer, the guy running the trust. Trust, take note, trust. I have to emphasize certain things. But at the end of the day, I wasn't motivated to study, being 2 years in the bush and stuff. I just wanted the most out of life and live it to the fullest, which was party, soccer, and eventually karate again. And I did read through most of the stuff. I was a production planner, my title. There were three guys, sorry. No, two. There were two guys, the manager and the assistant manager above me, and there was no production manager, but I was forced into, the same as the army forced me into many things, life forced me into a position of production planning, production management. My office was the main hub of the factory color corrugated, and you know what color corrugated does, it's carton boxes. And there was quite a bit of planning because we didn't have computers. Take note, we didn't have computers. You sat with a ledger and a calculator. So this thing had to work. And it did work well. After 2 years, well, nearly 2 years with the company, I got approached by a friend, older guy, Ivan Vogel. The Vogels own Coca-Cola in Namibia, under Coca-Cola South Africa. And I used to play poker with these old toppies every Friday evening. And obviously, my abruptness and the way I handled things had caught Mr. Vogel's eye. And one day, 2 cases of champagne rocked up at the company. Now, doing boxes for poultry farms, meat industries and stuff, there were regular little gifts coming along. Not buying me over. No one buys me over. Because I had to plan the production, and the efficiency was most important to me. You know, if your box is small and the other box is big, I have to run the process of setting those machines to work faster and efficiently. I thought it was a little gift for the company. I dealt the champagne out and took 2 bottles for myself. And a week later, I got Ivan at the post office. And he said to me, how are you? And how's it going with the champagne, you know? So I said, no, I've got 2 bottles. He said, just like it, but you can say, And I remember those cases of champagne were 12 per box, not 6. I think nowadays it's 6. But in any case, Ivan said to me, "Yeah, you can mistake. You can drink a lot." I said, "No, I dealt it out." So he said to me, "But it wasn't meant for the fact; it was meant for you." And I knew something is happening. In the same time, Tabletop, the food company, I don't think they exist anymore, also approached me to take me over. And I was considering, because my pay was poor. My pay was really poor. I used to sit and work the wages out for the workers. And sadly, the boss boy, the senior guy in the factory, was earning like something like 700, where I was getting like at that stage about 200. And I had to work his pay out, and I had to tell him what to do. And it was riding, well, that's the normal thing. If I must get racial, we whites are always pointing at the politics and but there's a klomp skelms, a lot of people that ride the wave and push, especially now that I'm older, I see it even more. People using people with experience, and the fact that, number one, you're white. I have to say it. I am. I can't help it. It's part of my legacy. Number two, you're old. Number three, you're a male. You're at the bottom of the food chain in our political structure. So, yeah, old people with a lot of experience get jobs, but get paid peanuts. And this via younger people. I say it, and if you don't like it, I'm not begging for work. I'm turning 64 this year, and I'm happy with the tuppence I get every month. But at the end of the day, Ivan also contacted for a post. They were going to, Coca-Cola was about to close the factory in Walfish Bay because the quality of the Coke was not up to standard. And Ivan needed assistance, and urgently, because there was a threat to the factory. Now I had Tabletop and I had Coca-Cola Pelican Mineral Waters, the place's name for those who know Walfish Bay. I had a choice of going to Tabletop, similar position, but my brain said, Ziggy, yes, I think there was a difference of about $100 in salary. Tabletop was the higher. And I said to myself, Tabletop's a big organization. You're a small fish in a big pond. There we go to Pink Floyd, two lost souls swimming in a fish bowl. And the Fosse will like that. But at the end of the day, I remember music. You will see with Fosse's music thing, me and my boot, well, it was his birthday yesterday. Tara, happy birthday on Legacy for yesterday. And at the end of the day, we refer to music, but we don't only listen to tunes, we listen to the words. I mean, one of my favorite ones is Bob Dylan. I have to play a bit of music now that I sidetracked again. One more cup of coffee before I go to the valley below. Look at the words of songs, people. You've got lessons, you've got poetry. It's lovely. I mean, brothers in arms. I've changed the baptisms of fire. This I call it this dust-covered Lakelands or something that they have in the song. I say this dust-covered bushveld. I've changed the words of that. I must actually see if I can find my version of that I rewrote. I actually asked the guy to record it. The guy didn't do it, but I would love to do it with me talking with my old toppy stem, referring to our life. I will do it. Fosse, it's a challenge, right? But let's take that to your music thing.
Please do that, because I have been looking for a version of that song, because that song means a hell of a lot to me. Obviously, I think to anybody from that era. So please do that, because I want a song that I can use that won't be copyright struck to use on Legacy Conversations. So Ziggy, I've accepted that challenge that you set yourself. Thank you very much for doing that. Please.
Yeah, no, I'll do it. I've got a guitar version that I use it. You'll see in my videos of 3-1.
I have seen that, and I love it there too. Yes.
That was done by my ex-Italian brother-in-law, who's back in Franco Savori. Hi, Sir Franco, if ever you see this. But he did it for me. I asked him to make it his own. He sat down with his guitar, and I play it often because sometimes your mind just brings words up yourself. You know the
Yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah,
And that
yeah,
is where I got the concept of turning that into our, like I say, this dust-covered bush felt,
yeah,
baptisms of fire.
yeah.
Um, yeah, people will mock me, but I always say, "Kry hoendervleis." I do.
Yeah, no, I know what you
Um,
mean. That song
yeah.
does it to me too. I've actually written about that song on a number of occasions, and I think when I did the first podcast, I played that song and I said why. And I said especially when the red grape cordial starts having an effect on me, I mustn't play that whole LP because it puts me in a different place. The point is, while I'm here, while I'm chatting, please, Ziggy's got a channel on YouTube. I'll ask Chris to provide to share the link down here where Ziggy puts a lot of photos to songs and he uses that particular version of that song there. So I'll ask Chris to put the link down here. I'm sure Chris will, please, because it's terrific. It's 3-1 out and over and over. And in my first edit, when I did your group edit, you had given permission and I used about 8 minutes of the background uh, on that while you guys were talking because there was a dark period, or not dark, one of the guys couldn't. So, okay, so I have used that already. I know it's there and I know it's terrific. So please, the link is below. Go and have a look at Ziggy's channel and enjoy what Ziggy did there a number of years ago already.
Yeah. Well, one of the other ones is Mike Oldfield. Mike Oldfield, that the song of that was the main theme of Killing Fields, a movie that I really enjoyed. But at the end of the day, I used that. I actually have told my family the day of my funeral, which will come, that would be the song because it's such a moving song. And I actually used that one, giving credit to Mike Oldfield, because it's a moving song. It's a song when I really feel down that I'll put on. It makes me even that drags me even further down, but then I'll just put something else on, which music, Fossey, music is something that we live with. Your mood. You can listen to a song today and enjoy it. Tomorrow, it doesn't sound the same. And yeah, it also is a time where I met Frenchie in the army. Frenchie is a 3-2 battalion guy. We did a mortar course together. I'll probably bring it up in my, but Frenchie won a 3-2, but Gilbert, what's Gilbert's Gilbert Evelyn, known as Frenchie. I'll mention that now because there's quite a long situation where we still speak to each other. He's in Germany and then he's got a place in the Cape, so he commutes between the two. I think he's here in summer and vice versa. Of course, he will know how the weather gets up there. But in any case, let's get back to my Coca-Cola story. All right, I took the Coca-Cola situation just to give an indication. My salary was about 80% more than I got at Cola Corrugated. I went to see Gunter. No hard feelings if ever you see this. It's just my life at Win, and obviously it was a big company. You had your instructions from above. But at the end of the day, I went to Gunter and he said to me, I said to him, Gunter, this is the situation. The boss boy is getting X and I'm getting X. He says, yeah, but Ziggy, this guy has worked for the company for 5-6 years. So I said to him, well, Gunter, you telling me I should have left school at an early age to come work at this company to get a good salary. I work his salary out, everything, but yet it was taunting to every week work the wages out and seeing that most of the staff were getting more than I did. I just didn't know the admin staff or the factory managers' salaries. I didn't have a problem, but and there I had an offer. It's a choice to make. But I decided to go to Coca-Cola, where we got distracted because of the small fish in a, a big pond. I knew that the spiral of management, that I think, if I speak under correction, Frans Fourie might help me right here, but He had studied before, and I picked that up, the spiral of management. I picked up in Oudtshoorn as a troop, and it has been a basis in my life. I've given it to my son too, because you get to the point where you know you're not going further, and it's going to take a couple of years for some disaster or something to happen before you can move further. So this was my spiral in my management. The old people always had a thing. You will see my life is based on this. The old people said a rolling stone never gathers moss. Now, this was used in the wrong way in my point of view and my son's point of view, because Sean brings this up quite often. Is moss a good thing? So why would you want to gather moss? So that's my son's view. Not that I ever thought of my view being similar, but I knew that you get to a point where you got to move. It's your life. No one can control your life. So I made the decision with an 80% increase, and I moved over to Coca-Cola. I must mention, Coca-Cola's pay was good, but I had the position of assistant manager, sales manager, production manager, and quality assurance manager. I had 4 positions, and Ivan can confirm this. But so what? The challenge was there. It's all a learning curve. You may never look at a bad thing as a negative thing. It's a learning process every time. I say if you bump your toe, just remember next time move around the table. Don't walk through the table. But in any case, I ended up with Coca-Cola. I worked for 4 years at Coke. Loved the environment. Ivan the tyrant. A lot of people don't like him, but Bigot, his wife, always says, Ziggy, you're the only person that can make Ivan laugh. So, because I don't keep quiet. But we had an agreement with each other that if there was a dispute, we will sort it out. But our main thing was that the company must always win. Not him, he wasn't a tyrant. I said tyrant earlier, but I mean, he's a moeilike mens, a difficult person, but a nice guy. Some people hide behind aggression. Meantime, it's just to cover their softness. And I would walk into Ivan's office, close the door, and then he would say, Ziggy, what's the problem? Because then he knew. We didn't call each other Ziggy and so. It was still the old days. It was Mr. Vogel and Mr. Hentze in front of the staff. But after hours, we used to ride together and so. But I would say this is the problem. And then we would take a bet. And I mean, even sometimes $50. $50 was big money those days. And whoever won the argument would take the money on the table, because we were gamblers. That's why I met Ivan was poker. And I believe in poker. Life is a poker game. At the moment, I don't know Fossi, he doesn't know me. You don't know me. I can be bullshitting. It's for you to go and find out if I am playing the right cards. It's easy to bluff. It's easy to bluff. But remember, if you take effort, you can find out if there's truth. People don't like a person digging, and that's a lot of people seem not to like me. I don't care. I really don't care. I have my music and my wife and my family. But at the end of the day, the truth people don't like. They want to live lives and it brings me to this conversation even. I've picked up a lot of negativity from people who have got great stories. When you tell them, can we interview? Can we put it on paper? I remember we doing a book for 3-1 Battalion, and the guys back off. Why? Have you read a book? Have you sat around the fire? Have you picked up your life's experience? Have you made your life experience based on your feelings? And are you scared that that by putting it on paper, by putting it on video, that people are going to ridicule you? Yes, they will. I know. So the challenge goes out. That's why I made a few corrections, because I know every mistake that you make on an interview or a document, the focus is shifted from the big picture to that little point. And some people do it to boost their importance with no effort of even trying to get involved. So I believe in stumble, get up, run, stumble, get up, run, because you're going to get further than sitting on your butt. So this is a challenge to my friends. And Really, if any of my statements in these videos bothers anyone, you've got my number. It's on my Facebook. I don't run from anything. I don't hide. Give me a call. If I did make a mistake, and I will correct it. I've got no problem. I believe in I'm not a superhuman, but yeah, this goes down to this interview. It becomes a scary point because that's what traces a lot. I've picked it up. A lot of people, if you've had one interview, the next and the following is easier. It just becomes easier because you're just talking. You've taken away that fear. Here we come to a fear factor again. The fear of talking on TV, the fear of putting your experience. But give a guy a dop and in a pub, and all of a sudden Rambo's after him. He's, you know. So yeah. All right. Let's move away from that because I have heard comments about a lot of people, and even the interview that Chaka or whatever, I mentioned it last night in an interview with Roland. Chaka says a lot of things, and I'm not questioning you, Chaka. You can call me anytime. I know we went through different, I don't even know what year you were there, but the system changed completely. It was quite eye-opening with Roland last night, how R31 worked with Romeo Mike, with 101, with 5 Recce, with all those things. Now, the main units always get the glory, but 3-1 was involved in a lot of things. But Chaka mentions about drivers. Even in my time, there were Bushman drivers. And in Chaka's time, in his company that he operated in, maybe there wasn't, because he probably also worked with Romeo Mike. The system might have changed. But last night, Roland mentioned the Bushman learner drivers were all pulled off because they thought the guys were drunk. The buffles were going this way, that way. They weren't drunk. They were getting used to the damn thing. But that was a adapt or die of the whole military situation. You didn't always have enough of drive, enough leaders, enough anything. People got into positions in the army through pure standing up and showing. All right, back to Coca-Cola. I had a good time at Coke. Then Ivan got transferred to Winter because his dad was going to retire, Mr. Fogel Sr., and it was a family business. And yeah, I was very young. Remember, I am talking now about in the 81 to about 85. That's the time at Coke, the 4 years with Coke. And I was in my early 20s, but I was already in these senior positions. And Ivan came to me and he said to me, basically, it's not your time to take over your age, which was understandable. And it was a family business. His brother-in-law took over. And I just requested one thing, that they start looking at my package, because already now my daughter was born, and Sean was born just after I was just my retirement, out of time of my resignation year. But in any case, Otmar took over, Otmar Leipert. May he rest in peace. Also, one of my karate students. Remember, these are not people, not enemies of mine. These are people that I worked with. These are like family to me, the family of friends, the circles. I always say, refer to circles. My wife is right next to me, my grandchildren, then my children, then my mother, which my mother doesn't understand, but that is my circles of importance. And my friends also got circles. I got close friends, I got army friends, I got karate friends, and they all take a priority. But Otmar came in, Otmar coming from the steel engineering company, steel industry, didn't know much about Coke, and obviously had to learn. Now, the Germans are difficult. They believe in Aussprung durch Technik. You can go look it up. Audi does say something to that effect. But they are very proud, like the Japanese, very proud nation, and they strive for perfection. And I got some of my posts that was being opened already by him, stressed to me. It's all company thing, but I mean, still, it was stressed to me, and it started irritating me. And I decided to start looking for greener pastures. Take note, green. Yeah. I went into a desert. But in any case, I then put my feelers out for joining PF because I loved the army. In my years at Coca-Cola, I was never stopped from doing camps, never stopped from weekend camps and that, and they didn't take a penny away from me. I got my military pay and I got my pay at Coca-Cola. And yeah, that was, well, maybe I misused the system to a point because you need a bit of bucks to do a camp. You need a bit of bucks to do a weekend camp. So you push the government and you push Coca-Cola because both were paying you. No one's always innocent. We all assume we are the pinnacles of our lives. Yes, we are. But there are other people that have focus points too. And at that time, Colonel van der Riet, who I still speak to, who was eventually a military attaché. He left Tusai for America and started the security company Reed Inc., which was involved in the war in Iraq. Later in my life, I tried to get a position there too. Gladly I didn't. But at the end of the day, he was putting out feelers for me to join the army as Buttermilk, Project Buttermilk was coming into action, the total onslaught, where older people were being called up to do military service in case that it went onto a full-fledged war. So all the old fishermen, teachers, doctors, and everything, come to that point too. I've even given instruction to doctors higher qualified than me. But at the end of it, this would be my position, as the army wanted to make Tusai Walfish Bay the hub of Buttermilk, the Utopi army. And I'll discuss that further. But at the end of the day, then my pay wasn't increased and I started getting negative. I'd already started purchasing a house through a government scheme to keep young people in Walfish Bay. It was a decent loan, 50,000. I think I spent 48 of that to build my house. I think it stands now, it's probably now about 2-3 million worth. I lost it, don't worry, that's another part of my life. I like losing too. But at the end of the day, you carry on. So I started, I resigned. Put it short and sweet, I resigned. I hadn't even got a post yet with the army. And I ended up working at the commandos in the office with Louisa Fontaine, our secretary, doing odd jobs and stuff and getting a tuppence from the army. But at least that stage I was a staff sergeant, so it wasn't too bad to pay, but it wasn't nearby what I was getting at Coca-Cola, and it raak moeilik. In this time, I need to also focus on my own things. Ek slaap nie. I started with my brother-in-law, I started a video business, which Coca-Cola didn't have a problem with. I mean, they were even customers. Even most of the staff was customers. But we started a video business too, which my wife ran, which you could look after my daughter easily because grandmother and wife ran the video shop in the day, and she could breastfeed upstairs and stuff, and it was nice. I like my wife to. Well, it's changed. I mean, now I'm the one sitting at well, she's also working from home, but she's the breadwinner, the stable breadwinner. There are times where I get good jobs and it adds to the package, but that's what we're married for, not for money or for who's the king of the castle. I try to be. Ek het 'n boertjie, nee, onthou dat ek het 'n boertjie as 'n vrou. So yeah, I had a video shop. In the time that I went to apply for a loan at the bank, I was doing a camp, and I went to see the bank manager, and Jana van Wyk is also passed away in the meantime. Those days you sat down and had a coffee with your bank manager, and if you were a good bullshitter, you got the loan. My uniform put him off. I didn't know that straight away, but something was edgy. Body language is a good sign of what's going on in any conversation. And I could see Jano was uncomfortable. So he asked me, when can I see him again? And remember, Jano was a house friend of my mother-in-law. And that not even that was a plus factor. He was a good manager. But Jana looked at me and he said to me, "When can you come and see me again?" So I said, "Well, I'm finishing off on Friday. I can come and see you this." So he said, "Oh, I thought you were a permanent force member." I said, "No. I am the assistant manager of Coca-Cola." And everything changed. I got my loan, I opened my business. So, and I had, on this, I had my karate club. So my life, the time of my kid, when my kids grew up in my early ages, was a weekend karate, a weekend video shop, a weekend commando, and one weekend for my family. And that's the way I ran my life. I had the karate club, I had the video shop, I had my commando, and I had my family. And I tried to balance that. Quite a task. So this is the way we as young people lived. The young people today think life was easy then. There were a lot of things. It was easy in certain aspects, but you still had to work. And that's the end of the story. All right. Let's just go while I'm touching commando. I left jump away from the work situation, go to the commando. I arrived at the Wildfish Bay Commando. I was assigned. I would have loved to done my camps in Omega. I don't know who decides these things, but I ended up being sent as to the Wildfish Bay Commando. And Connie and myself, Connie Berger, I think I mentioned him in also a karate friend from and also a young friend in Wildfish Bay. We ended up being assigned to the Wildfish Bay Commando. Now, commandos guys were guys that got rank over years, did courses here, but never had the proper instruction. Connie and myself were the first two fully qualified infantry instructors from the Wildfish Bay Commando. And Bull Grobler was the OC at that stage, later on Willie van Zyl, Commandant Willie van Zyl. But I was pushed into I could see where I was going with the situation. They needed a person, and I was sent on courses, one after the other. Even when I went on my staff sergeant course, my daughter was 2 weeks old. I tried to cancel. They said to me no, and I had to go. Remember, my daughter was 2 weeks old. My wife was left. My brother went to stay. Tara went to stay by my wife, just that she had support. And there I went off to Kimberley for my staff sergeant course. And take note, I was 24, I think 24 at that stage. And I was already going for a staff sergeant. But by the time in 1984, 85, I did my RSM, sorry, not RSM, company sergeant major. I don't give myself rank, the things are here. I did the company sergeant major course. We were, I speak on 8 or 9 guys. Nice little course. Major Peach ran the show, and we even got visited by Sergeant Major Holiday, also passed away in the meantime. He actually came to give us a speech and stuff like that too, just to show that commandos were also important, and our courses were the same courses. Just we didn't have to run them as long as the PF guys, and I think that was a bit of a bitter pill for the PF guys to swallow. No problem. I was PF later on myself, so I don't have a problem with them. But I was then eventually assigned as a staff sergeant, the acting RSM of the commandos. I mean, the current RSM couldn't even run a parade. And Connie will back me up because me and Connie used to help the Otopi. Well, the Otopi liked me. He would always have, I would always climb in his Gary with him, the real RSM. And he would always have a little nippy under his seat. So yeah, we were commandos. We ons wagdrink. But at the end of the day, no, we were not allowed to. I didn't like that part, but at the end of the day, it did happen. I can't hide away from it. All right. Then I resigned, like I said, from Coke. I ended up waiting for this whole PF scenario. I had to go to Bastion in Windhoek to do an IQ test. You know, I don't know if my 3-1 stuff was missing from my file. I wouldn't know. But it seemed that these guys didn't know much about me. But I had to do an IQ test, do little interviews, and blah blah blah. Go back to Warfish Bay, wait, and then I was sent off to Pretoria, where I went through a similar process at the building that was blasted later over the or before whatever with the by the bomb. HQ was a mixture of Air Force, all the different forces, and your arm gets lame because it's net Salir, because you just see rank everywhere. But I got into the army, and the rude awakening was, which Foshi knows, is I was assigned to a lance corporal. I didn't have work. I was doing temporary work at the admin work at the Walfish Bay Commando. So here I was. What do you do? Life goes on. So I signed up. They met me halfway, and I wore the rank of a sergeant. So I dropped a rank. My seniors were my juniors in age. Wasn't nice. Uh, I had experienced civilian life there, but so what? I got a very good. I fell on a SO2 opleiding, which was run by Major Apia Tron. Apia I had learned to know earlier because he had helped a lot with the commandos too, as a trooper lieutenant. But now he was a major, and I was dealt into his division. Now, I went in to be an infantry instructor with the hope of doing buttermilk. Buttermilk is assigned to Potchefstroom. So there that bubble popped. So here they had this new lance corporal wearing the rank of a sergeant, getting a stupid pay. And Apia knew I could draw. Apia assigned me to a wing that fell under him, and that was media. Now, people don't like the word jam stealer. Hey, guys, this was my jam stealing experience. But yet, I know a lot of things that went through media was important. Inlichting would use you, intelligence would use you, propaganda posters, everyone would use you. The companies would use you. But yeah, I was getting to put it blunt, a shit salary. And I had to survive. And I had all these, a lot of them, not all of them, because I still speak to a lot of my guys that worked under me. But I have assigned a lot of, most people think all artists are on drugs, but I had a lot of druggies. And their lives, everything, I listened to them. Some of the reasons that some of these guys, look, guys, don't judge someone, rather talk to them. Hear their life before you judge. And a lot of them had a shit life. And grew up in a family where the parents were druggies too. And I mean, I know one of the troops that were caught for using Dacha was nowadays it's a medicine, but he was put in DB, or before he put in DB, he was assigned to me on the what they call under house arrest. You basically, he might leave your sight. He has to sit with you the whole time before his hearing comes up. And I can't work with someone sitting on my lap. Okay, he didn't sit on my lap, but it felt like that. I spoke to the guy, and the guy told me how he was the youngest in the family. His parents were in drugs. His brother and sister in drugs. Now, really, that guy needed more psychological help than being locked up. But I said to him, listen, you go and sleep in the bungalow, hide away. Don't get caught, because then it's my career. But I cannot, I trust you, and you're going to drop me. And the guy did. He reported to me every now and then and kept a low profile. And his case came up. He was assigned to DB and got locked up. A week later, I was walking with a commandant. I'm not going to mention his name. You know who you are, but I must be honest, I've got nothing against you, but an ambulance came screaming past the side, against the parade ground towards the sick bay, sirens screaming. And the commandant said, ja, die bliksem het sy polse gesny. And I felt, sorry, sir, but you know, you are wrong. We want to be, you're not brave about breaking other people down. At you've got kids yourself. And this is the experience. And the guy had actually cut his wrists. He had spent some time in hospital and was released out of hospital and discharged from the army. I happened to be driving a Gary when this guy was walking with his balsack on his shoulder. Off, no one gave a shit. You get to the station and you get out. We don't want you anymore. And I stopped and I picked him up and I said, climb in. I took him to the station. In this whole time, he hid his wrists away, but I had known, and I told him, I know what you've done, but I gave him a pep talk. I don't know if the guy's alive. The guy OD'd eventually on drugs or so and so. But that is the way I look at things. You don't walk over people. You don't boost your ego, your strength by, you lead by example. And people didn't like me being called Sergeant Ziggy. I had to be called Sergeant Hentze. Staffan Bosch will know he didn't like me being called Ziggy. But really, people respect you for who you are, not what you impose on them. That is where I learned in karate. All right. That was my PF years. So yeah, I got all these guys that are designers and good artists. Really, really, I had brilliant people. If I must show you some of the, I'll actually try and see if I can find a couple of pictures of McGrath, Sean Abel. Sean Abel's a tattoo artist now in Cape Town, and guys who like tattoos, the Parabats like using him. You support Sean. He needs it. He's also had a heavy life. I speak to Sean, and his story. I won't tell you his story. Sean still opens up to me as a father, as a grandfather. So at the end of the day, hey, these guys I respect. These guys babysat my kids. When I went out, I would get my troops to go and babysit. I trusted them. I bought them a couple of beers. They had my LPs, my hi-fi. They're human beings, damn it. But at the end of the day, I trusted my people, but don't break my trust. So yeah, I speak to Sean. McBride has drifted off, but McBride, I say this because McBride was and in respect, he was one of my heaviest guys on drugs. McBride even came to work to me when I resigned out of the army, came work with me. I started a t-shirt business and stuff, and McBride came to work for me for a few months. I paid him off because he was still on his stuff, and I told him, fix yourself. I spoke to his mother even. I mean, really, people are human beings. We have no control over anyone's life. All right. But how was I going to survive on the stuppings the army is giving me? That's where I started my t-shirt business in the army. I got a friend to weld and do a little screen printing thing for me, and it actually started. My wife bought me a screen printing hobby kit, a simple little thing, which I started making t-shirts for the commandos and so and so. And then when I was in PF, I thought, well, you've got a problem, money. How are you going to get it? Steal. You're not allowed a second business while you were PF. The government, nowadays, the government works different. But I got the troops, my troops, to speak to the troops in the companies at what they would like on t-shirts. And then my troops would design this for me, and I would approach the major of the company and say, this is what your troops want. And I would end up with orders of 300 or so t-shirts. I did t-shirts for people up in the north. I did for Okahania base. I was making a roaring business, but that meant that I had to stay wait at night me and my wife would sit and print. My lounge was covered in t-shirts, drying, and it was work, but it was survival. Okay, I was using the system. The system used me. Why not use the system? And how did I pay my troops? Sarge, a bottle of tequila. No one checked my vehicle. I was PF. I smuggled boozy, not drugs, boozy. I didn't sell it. I was just paying them back for their time. So yeah, this will shock a lot of PFs. I mean, RPA knows it. I told RPA already afterwards. If the system fools me, I will find a way. We all find a way. And this is how if I was really tired, I would go into the dark room, put the red light on, and sleep under the table. Which brings me to one of my troops that lost his mother before going to the army, and while he was in the army, he lost his father. And Minnie was the guy's name. He was getting worried. His time was coming to an end in the army, and he had nowhere to go, just his sister, who was a little bit older than him. But I already started helping Minnie even. I got him a day pass so that he could sleep out, and he started working for my brother-in-law who ran a Chinese. My brother-in-law wasn't Chinese, but he ran a Chinese restaurant in Swakopmund, and Minnie was being trained as the chef. So Minnie would come in and be zero the next day because he worked until 12, just after 12 sometimes, because it was a pub restaurant type thing, nice place. But I would let Minnie sleep under the table, put the red light on, because you can't enter but we were busy developing films. You always devise, there's always a way in life. But I lost contact with Minnie, but in any case, it's another story. But at the end of the day, no one cared about this guy, and I tried to get a job for him. The same as I got a job for McBride after his army. I will give you the rope. You either pull on it or you hang yourself. So that was my army life. All right, I have to sort of jump to my karate now because that was another point that I used the army for. Sport was everything, and if there's an event, you got sport bars, you got SNT, you got vehicles, you got accommodation. So, and sports is expensive, we know, especially nowadays, but it was expensive then too. So I used that too. My karate, like I say, I mentioned earlier, I was no karate expert. The guys like Paul Dennis ended up being Paul probably watches too. Paul I met in 87 at some military, I think it was the Playboy Championships, but it was a military thing, all the karate guys. And Paul did well. He eventually was part of the SADF team. And guys like Trevor Norval, these guys are expert. Trevor Norval was at school with me. I introduced him to karate. I think I was there 2 weeks in, and he came. I got him to join also. But we've been friends all our life. We're still friends. Trevor joined the Navy. Clever move. Where I lost 2 years of karate, being in Oudtshoorn and then also in the bush. There wasn't time for sport. But Trevor ended up also being part of the SADF team. And today, I'm only a fourth Dan. Trevor, I also stopped for a while and started, but me and Trevor started back in 1973. So it's 50 years. My walk with karate has been not a full 50 years, but it's 50 years ago. And Trevor's had a full 50 years. And Trevor today is the seventh Dan. He's the head of Gojukai in Namibia, the head of our Gojukai karate, a very strong organization worldwide. If you see the hierarchy, the structure of this, it's a big organization. But Trevor happens to be a Shia. And with the title Renshi also, which is titles that you get from Japan. You can't just give yourself a title. Trevor graded last year for his seventh Dan. Is actually, in my opinion, and so too the Japanese opinion, Trevor should be an 8 Dan. But Trevor doesn't jump systems. He walks the walk. And that's why I respect Trevor a lot, because he, like I say, he walks the walk. His experience. I'm not going to talk too much about Gojukai, otherwise I'm promoting the style. But my karate started with the Chukukaya. Chukukaya karate was under Kimura. I had a Peter Steenkamp, also known as Haikis. We started in a little garage that was full of big garage, was full of fishing nets and stuff, and that's how our karate started here in Walfish Bay. That's the history of karate in Walfish Bay, but my history too. I finished off with Chukukaya going to the army as a brown belt, also trained in Cape Town what's it? Yeah, now I've lost the area, but under the Shukukai Samurai Club. Under, now I'm trying to get the guy's name to see. It's Friday the 13th, so I will forget. But while we were busy doing karate in Wildfish Bay, I think I was a blue belt then or purple belt. But they made the movie Karate Olympia. A lot was shot here in the desert, but they couldn't move all the guys like Stan Schmidt and all these big names, all the big names that played in that movie, the karate history. Played in this movie, but to get all these guys on a limited budget down to Namibia or Southwest Africa those days to run up and down the dunes and go to Kira for this training for these big championships, they approached Peter Steenkamp, Heikes, and asked if we could do this. So that was the first time I wore a black belt. I will send Fossey the caption I have of that little few seconds that we play in the movie, up and down the dunes and all that stuff. I'll identify myself as proof of what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm even a film star, even though we didn't get paid. I think I got a beer out of the whole deal. Ryan, what the hell was the guy's surname? See, I'm not going to get names today. When I start hooking on names, I get hooked. Not hooked, but the brain is stuck. But Ryan was a gymnast. He wasn't the guy, the main role. He just had a beautiful build. I mean, really like Bruce Lee. But James Ryan. James Ryan. So it's not Ryan, it's James Ryan. James Ryan played the main role. And yeah, go look at the movie. I think it's called Kill or Be Killed nowadays. It's the name changed, but it was Karate Olympia those days. So I had a stint in my karate years to act in a movie, and all the guys in that piece that I show, not the only person that was a black belt was Heikes, Peter Steenkamp. The rest were brown belts. They were the higher grades of the lower belts, and yeah. So I will send that to Fossey. Then after the army, I came back and I started playing soccer, and not my thing. I'm a big guy, so you play as a fullback to bully the guys away from your goal. And I mean, those days were rough. Uh, a clap of your pants and even the ref gives the penalty against the guy for shouting at him, trying to show him that I clapped him. But I mean, never mind. Those are jokes of the time. We were more a drinking team than a soccer team. We were Sparta United B team, with an old Norwegian family friend from, look, a lot of Norwegians in Wildfish Bay, fishermen, but Bruno Nurman was our captain, also passed away of cancer in the meantime. Yeah, this is the way life is getting. I mean, I'm turning 64 soon. I'm 63 now. My dad passed when he was 53, and that was in 1977. But so I'm 10 years older now than my dad was. So, take what you get from life and make the best. But I decided to go to Tenshinkan Karate. And yeah, like I said, the army was another stepping stone for me to do my sport. I eventually graded, well, I started from white belt, all the way from white belt. In 1983, I made my first dan. It was just before I got married. So it could have been 1982 even, because not next week, in a few weeks' time, a few days' time, I'm married 40 years too. So now I'm just getting my ducks in a row. But I wasn't married yet to Janita, but I graded in Johannesburg for my first time. A few years later, I think in the army, I graded for my third dan. Also, no, my second dan, sorry. Also under Tenshinkan. I must mention that I got the badge. I'll also post the picture, which Vincent Fernandez, collecting Army memorabilia, is getting soon. I had my Southwest colors, Southwest African colors. I was awarded the honorary sports thing in karate at Tusai, the only person ever to wear that badge, ever to receive that badge. If there's someone else, please show me, because I don't know about it. But I got the not actually Tusai, the military area. Look, we fell under Gebiedsmacht. It was all the forces, Air Force, everything fell under the enclave. But I got my colors. All right. I did. I did two courses in my PF years. Um, One was the 81 millimeter mortar, where I met Gilbert Evelett, the Frenchie, well-known C2 battalion guy, loose cannon. Frenchie, you look this, we're a loose cannon. You still are. You say your say, and as small as you are, you take on elephants, and the guys know you for that. You don't keep quiet. Frenchie should be interviewed. He'll tell you how I got stuck in the Kango caves. I have to correct French here. I never got stuck. Yes, I've always been a big guy and sometimes overweight too. I like food. But at the end of the day, I had a Chinese or Japanese lady in front of me, the devil's chimney or something it's called. It's a very narrow little thing. She started panicking and getting hysterical, and I had a hangover and I was stuck behind her. I couldn't go backwards. I had to go forwards. I had to wait for this lady to calm down to get out. So I get out. So you know how humid and stuffy it gets. It wasn't a nice time in my life, but Frenchie loves this. And if you ever speak to Frenchie or anyone speak to Frenchie about Ziggy, he will say, yeah, when he got stuck in the Kango caves. And he loves that story, and I appreciate it. Frenchie became a good friend. I had to look after him. I need to mention this because Frenchie is French, so it's obviously the nickname he got. But I was told by staff, Pat Grammer, who is O2 is a sergeant major already. He was the course leader. He just said to me, I won't repeat the swear word, but he says, "Jy's mos 'n ex-Engelsman." And I said, "Yes, Sergeant Major." And he said to me, "Well, the guy sitting behind you is a Frenchman that cannot speak a word of Afrikaans. So you will see that he passes this course." Now, every evening I had to sit with Frenchie and give the course over. Thanks to this situation, I didn't have to study. I came fifth under the NCOs on the course. My ping shows that too. Like I say, I don't have to lie. But at the end of the day, me and Frenchie became big friends, and that was the last I saw him. Facebook came along, and now we speak to each other. I would love to see Frenchie again. Also retired. Like I said, he commutes between Germany and Cape Town. Not Cape Town, but the George area. He's got a beautiful place there, built it, everything. So, yeah, that's my one course. The other course that I did was the Signalers Instructor course. Also another experience on its own. I'm not going to dig too deep in these things, otherwise we're going to do 10 interviews. And sorry, I get tired also of the interviewing, but not tired. I just feel that it becomes a eye factor. I become an eye specialist, but I don't know yourself. But at the end of the day, that was my 2 years. I was put on guard duty in 1989. December 1989, I was put on guard duty by a major, and I went and saw the major, and I said to the major, "Why are you putting me on?" He says, "I'm not asking you, Sergeant. I'm telling you. You know that old story in the army." And I said to him, "There's officers, there's nationals. I've got a family. I'm a family man too, and I would like to spend years evenings." I said, "You just do it." I said to him, "Well, I lost it," and I said to him, "Seeing as my pay is up to shit, my rank is up to shit, everything, put me on. I might not even be in the army anymore." Then I started losing it. I went and saw, in the meantime, Distiller Corporation, the booze guys, had contacted me and asked me if I. So I was brave. I knew there was a possibility of a job. They needed an assistant manager, and they wanted me to come and work with my track record with Coca-Cola. And I went and saw Commandant Choppy Fourie, also passed away, good guy, nice guy, old Warfish Bayer. And he just said to me, "Sorry, you have to resign before the 7th, and there's no ways you can resign. It's now the 8th. You're a day too late." I lost it and wanted to go see Tubby van Schalkwyk, the OC, and went just above the channels and rocked up at the adjutant, which was Nico Uber, also a major. And he said to me, Ziggy, I can see you're upset. What's bothering you? And he said to me, what? You leave it in my hands. I've just resigned too. Let me see what I can do for you. And 2 hours later, Nico phoned me and he said to me, Ziggy, your papers are in. You're out. I went to the commandant. Lut said, Commandant, I went to the major, said, I told you. And then, well, before this even, Truby was getting quite upset about my scenario because of my pay, and he had already threatened, not threatened, well, he's threatened, higher HQ in Pretoria, that if this sergeant pay wasn't sorted out, remember, Lance Corporal's pay is not much. He already started threatening them that if they didn't fix my pay, he would pay me from unit funds. Well, that didn't happen because I had resigned. 2 years later, I got a check in the post while working for distillers. I got a check in the post. It had eventually, it was a nice package of money, which I think I enjoyed with my family. But I ended up with distillers, worked for distillers for, I think, 2 years, then started my own business again, another business, Computerland, another thing in my life. But back to the karate. In the meantime, I had started Gojukaya under Trevor, and my third style already, and graded for my third dan. Went to Japan in 1993 to the World Championships. Didn't win. We basically got off the plane, had a day's rest, and climbed on the floor. Jet lag, no excuses. The Japanese that beat me was bigger than me, and I thought, this guy is lying there on his back. We're warming up, and he's like, looks like he's sleeping, but he was meditating. He meditated and I have luxem, yeah. But the guy came first. I was knocked out in the what you call sudden death. The first day, if you're knocked out, you're out. Then they go over to the repro chart of things. But even that, one of my students that was no longer my student, but who's now my instructor, he was the chief instructor, not the head of the style in Namibia, Leonard Martin. One of my students took a third place in the World Championships. I nicknamed him Bosvark because he's as tough as one, and that was my karate. And I stopped karate, I think, in 2000 and around about 2002, 2003, and I started again in 2017, 2018, which year before last, 2020, well, we 23, 2021, I graded for my fourth dan, and yeah, I'm training again. Not easy, aches and pains, but I enjoy it. It's a sport I enjoyed. Okay, I went on to distillers as the assistant manager. Had a good few years. When I resigned there, I went to my own business, Computerland, Videoland, with a partner from Windhoek. I actually got Alex Stein, ex-Marine, to take over my job at distillers. Alex worked many years for them. Now owns a hotel in Omoruru. But the Computerland and Computerland went well, but I had a tyrant of a boss. Won't go in there because this is he could end me up in court, but I wouldn't mind. I did go to court, won that case, but never mind. Don't have to smear on social media. But at the end of the day, I sat without work again, which has been quite a dominant thing in my life because of my attitude. I ended up not people's fault. My history shows that there's many times in my life I sat without work because I stand my man. I can't blame other people for my attitude, but I eventually got offered a position to start the duty-free shop, the first duty-free shop in Africa in a harbor. Challenge. There was no duty-free shop anywhere, and I took this position, and no system devised the system. Also got upset eventually after 2 years because of skalamheid. Don't want to say who, what, why. The guy is also no longer with us. But I also left that, again sat without work, and started my own business called Jazzy Graphics. Now, Jazzy Graphics, one of my troops had already those days said to me, Janita and Ziggy, Jazzy, music, jazz, Jazzy. So my company's, my first graphic company was called Jazzy Graphics. I did well. Also eventually saw my bottom, and I moved to Windhoek. Okay, in my PF year, sorry, I'd seen out the bottom here, I got my PF thing there. I did a stint in Tembisa as the company quarter sergeant major, with Matt Tyson, staff sergeant, being the company sergeant major under first Frikkie Tron, also an X31 battalion guy, also passed away with cancer. Apia came to relieve him. The story on its own. In that time, in Tembisa, it was a sad situation for me because this wasn't my type of warfare. And we, as the QM, looking after food and all that stuff for these guys, I also moved into Tembisa at times. We weren't controlling the non-whites those days. We were controlling them from killing each other. This is something I experienced it, I lived it, I saw it. It wasn't us oppressing them, it was us controlling them. And I have to say, I don't like the political side, but we had to protect their schools from being burnt down. We had to protect them from burning each other. I one day went with Frikkie Tron with his little bucky, each armed with a 9mm, went to the police station to see how things are going with the planning. And on our way back to the camp in Ensland Park, where one of the rugby fields was our Kempton Park, was our base area basically. And on leaving the police station, we saw a car with white people and black people together, and that was suspicious. So, going over, instead of reporting it, we followed them, and we followed them right to a church with the what's it, pastory. Yeah, you can put it in there, but in any case, the house next to the church where the minister stayed, the black minister, we pulled over, knocked on the door, entered, and spoke to them politely, finding out what's going on. Yeah, he's the minister. These people are from overseas, and blah blah blah. While we were talking, the next thing, what? This place was hit by cops, vans everywhere. Here we're standing, we don't even know that the whole time this whole operation was being monitored by them. And I mean, one of the police vehicles ended up on a sand heap. The way they came in there with this, I mean, it was an overkill to me. I mean, a white man and a white lady, a black minister and his wife, and you come with this massive force. We had approached it in a different way. We started speaking to them, not that it was our duty or within our rights even, but that was the one experience that I had in Tembisa that still rings a bell to me. But while in Tembisa, I was supposed to leave early to come back to Walfish Bay. And I'd already told my wife I'm coming back, excited to see my family. I'd been 2 months in Tembisa. And the evening before I flew out with Matthijssen and Frikkie, Apia, Major Apia Tron, said to me, Sergeant, you got to hand over to Rubber. Rubber was another sergeant, so you get a kid check. And lo and behold, I was 5 sleeping bags short in my store. So he said to me, sorry, you can't go. And I lost it, and I wanted to get the whole company searched to find these sleeping bags, because someone had stolen the tent. You can go under a tent, there's nothing to steal something under a tent. But he said to me, Sergeant, it's after 5, you can't interfere with the troops. That was funny. I mean, something didn't smell right here. So I lost it, went off into the trees, sat over there and licked my wounds. I had been defeated. I was staying. Rocked up back into the base, came into the pub, saluted, asked if I can enter, and Apia said to me, Sergeant, jy is the moeder. And I said, yeah, because I ordered a heavy drink. He says, jy is the moeder. And I said, yeah, meneer. And the next day, I did exactly what I wanted to do the night before. I got the whole company searched. I got a lot of equipment that was not there. Guys came with excuses of my pass, the slaapsak, and commandos. But I retrieved something like 25 sleeping bags that went on the register. No national service has a thing issued to him to take home to his parent, or even a commando. So I knew the system, but I stayed. And a week later, with the troops got a weekend off, and the PF guys had stayed behind in the base, of course, we then did what we did best and party. And then I said to Apia, I said, Yo, Blackson, you kept me. He says, yes, I did keep you because you're the only guy I know. I don't know these other guys. So he had forced me to stay. So Apia, I reveal your tactic. I knew your tactic. And yeah, that was the only thing I can actually say that I did on a military scale in the army. The rest was admin, drawing, helping retrain companies that failed the evaluation. So, and in one of these experiences where I had to help with training, troops approached me and asked me, Sergeant, were you a recce? I obviously don't know. What I'm giving you as reference was live experience at 3-1 Battalion. So my 3-1 always popped up, and it was a real life experience. It wasn't from the book. So I could refer to these things to the point. I never want to wear a badge that I never earned. That's my military, like I say, the rude awakening was that I probably, if I had got my true pay, if I stayed a staff sergeant and maybe even promoted to a sergeant major eventually, I would probably spend the rest of my life as a PF. But the odds were against me, and like I mentioned earlier, when the odds are against you, you devise a plan and you move on. You move on. It's no one to blame. The system is to blame. And I've always been a soldier. I still am very military. The commandos, I also, if you look at the Warfish Bay commandos, it's got a badge. That badge is my design. It's a tok-tokie. Andrew Grana, one of my corporals, we were lying suntanning on a Sunday out in the desert, and these tok-tokies, he says, that's a good idea for a badge. And I went home and I designed it. I got a first day cover where the original design, heraldry, changed it with a little wave and took away a lot of the detail. I can also maybe give that to Fossey that he can post, that you can see the original, and you can, just to show that I'm not talking rubbish, and the current one, when they don't exist anymore. My business in Walfish Bay also went sour eventually when I moved to Windhoek. I went to work for a large sign company. I won't mention their name. Also got a raw deal there. Also left. Started my own business, Color FX. It went well. And eventually I was a big opposition for this big company. And I supplied the breweries, big contracts everywhere. And then this lovely thing of BEE came in. To push people what they're not is a stupid system. That's why everything's failing. You're giving people positions which they cannot handle. There's a lot of, I've got to talk race, there's a lot of black guys that I respect and that are really doing well. I take my hat off to, irrelevant of your color, really. But I had people getting contracts from big companies, government-run companies. Then the lady would rock up at my company in a taxi to discuss the job. When the meeting was over, she would have to phone the taxi to come and pick her up. She didn't have a clue what was going on. I had the knowledge and the equipment. I had a digital printing company, signage and stuff, and I took all the risks.
and then had to wait for my money. And eventually, one of these jobs killed me, killed my business. I lost everything. And I'm not shy to say it. I have the proof. I have everything there. If anyone wants to take me on, but I licked my wounds and I came back to Walfish Bay. Came back. I went to Winter to become rich. I came back even poorer than I was. And now I was already 48, 49. No, I was 50. I turned 50 already. Sorry. I can remember having my 50th birthday, and quite a depressing one because I'd lost everything. I'd even sold my 350 LP collection, 350 plus LP collection for $1,000. A time of stupidity. And Whiskey Nell, ex-policeman, Willem Nell Whiskey, he bought it. I hope Whiskey knows what value that is, because I think there's one LP there that should be in the 20, 30,000 rand now. It was an import, a double. I will get the name by the other owner in Swakopmund that I bought it through my friend that had a music shop that used to import LPs those days. All my LPs, 90% of my LPs were imports. They were like $5, where the double was about $10, and a local was about R3, R350. But your imports were $5 to $6, and most of mine, and that was my pride, even though it was in boxes, because I had moved a lot around in Windhoek and I never took them out. I just decided these boxes were standing here and I got to drag them all with. I had a container there. I had no money. I'd lost my house, everything through a raw bloody BEE system. I hope the guys in power start realizing that they didn't build, they destroyed. They destroyed things that were there that could have built. You never, my Jewish friend Freddie Hertzberg always says to me, Ziggy, jy gooi nie die vuil water weg voordat jy skoon water het. And that's a little thing that I believe into. Don't move. I did a lot of those in my life. I just decided to hell with everything, pulled the plug and walked out. I mean, when I walked out at Coca-Cola, it was stupid. Yeah, was I that important that Coca-Cola would close? Coca-Cola still exists. I was the guy. If I'd stayed on, I could have been. I probably moved in. That spiral would have put me in a higher position. Just take a bit longer. But yeah, I came to Walfish Bay and work. The guy I did work for 3 months didn't pay me. I won the legal battle. Still didn't get my money. Skelms kry jy oral, and I hope he watches this too. I hope the rest of Walfish Bay can see, because I've got the documents and the court case number, everything, High Court. So here's my chance to get back at you. I won't mention your name, but hey, life kicks you in the butt eventually. But never mind that. Like, yeah, we got a flash on the power here. I think we got rain up in Windhoek too. That's why this internet has been playing up. But in any case, short and sweet, I was forced into 3D. Well, I just decided to go 3D. And I must say it was the right move, because in 2010 I designed the Bokkie. I'll put a link on that too. The rugby, the Springbok rugby guys had this animated little Bokkie. I don't know if you guys remember the adverts and stuff, but I was contacted by people in Cape Town to do. They were going to can it, and here they phoned this guy that's got a bit of 3D experience behind him and asked him to design a jewelry piece. Jewelry. I've never thought of doing jewelry in my life, and I designed this for them, and that was my move to a bigger thing, where I designed the book cover for Pitnokia, the double bundle. I've got mine. Mine's actually even sealed still. I haven't even opened it. I've got it. I bought it in 2017, but I bought it as a reference that badge on Pitnokia's book is my design. The whole cover was designed by me first. The distributors found it too aggressive. Oh, it's not a sissy dung, but in any case, I still like my cover. Obviously, I designed it, but they changed the cover. They just used the badge that I basically had. I actually helped Pitnokia do a bit of research. Went into SWAPO's offices in Windhoek to get books and get information. They actually accepted me with open arms, I must say. There's one thing about the mentality in Namibia. I must praise our people. We don't have a aggressive attitude. Our cops, not all, but from both sides of the spectrum. I was accepted very well when going to see them. The guys chased other people out of their office, took me in, gave me books. I sent the books to Pitt, did as much research I could. Not, I didn't do a hell of a lot for him, but I helped him. And in Pitt also, like same as Frans Verrieg, supported me in times of getting hard. Pitt Nokia helped me a lot because Pitt Nokia and Frans were both guys that I would give them a price and they would always add an extra tuppence. Which helps and it makes it appreciated. I don't know if I can reveal. I'll actually ask Peter if I can reveal. I've done all the RSMs of 32 Battalion. I've done the headpieces, bus headpieces, which Peter's had printed in Dubai. We all know Pitt worked in Dubai. He's now on retirement back in South Africa. But Pitt had he was one of the RSMs, but had the bus designed by me. He printed it in 3D and handed it over to the RSMs and to the families of those who had moved on. Of course, Moorcraft and not because Pep. Of course, Moorcraft wasn't the RSM at 32. It was Pep van Sail and the whole bunch. I've got, I think it's 6 or 8 heads that I'd like to show, because no one's seen it yet. The only person that's seen it is Pitt, and I like to reveal my art. The money is a nice factor, but as an artist, you get more pleasure out of a thank you. And take note, I'm busy with a job now for the Parabats, and it's a tough one. I can actually, I don't know if the camera will pick this up. Where's the lens? But this is just a sample of what I'm busy with for the Parabats, for a certain group of these guys. Hopefully in 2 months' time, if earlier it'll be better, they will have these items. It's a tense time for me, and I like to push quality all the way. So I'm doing a bit of promotion here. This is me. My kantoor lyk soos 'n jy weet wat se aansak. It's very dear mekaar. But my work is not that way. I sit with very expensive equipment. My prices are not cheap. I do work internationally. I'm releasing another package. I sell designs to people with fiber laser cutters and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've learned to survive. My son said to me about 2-3 years ago, "Dad, sell your art on the internet." I said, end of October, I started, and I'm surprised at the income that I'm receiving. I'm surprised at the work that I'm getting, and
Hello again, internet. Yes, I know I said hello in the beginning, but the first part of this recording was done on Friday the 13th, and we ran out of time and ideas. Me. I had to push off. I had to be somewhere else. So thank you, Ziggy, for consenting to come back. This is now the Monday of the next week, whatever the date might be, or about the 16th, I would say. So once again, I'm going to let Ziggy just summarize briefly what he told us, and then there's a few very, very interesting items that Ziggy asked me to remind him of, and he's going to share those memories with us. And there's one very, very interesting one. It's a photo that he shared, and I'm going to leave it to him because it got me thinking the whole weekend about that situation. So Ziggy, welcome again here. It's always a pleasure. So always a pleasure. Right, over to you.
Morning, Fossey. Morning, viewers. Like Fossey said, we said that in the beginning of this thing, but this is on Monday. I hope it's not look, Friday was the Friday the 13th. Let's hope today's not a Blue Monday. So let's take it from here. I I'm a pensioner. Fossey's a pensioner. When I look at this morning, I woke up with a thing of time and old age. We think when we get to a point of old age that you've got all the time in the world. I must say that my time is so limited. I don't know if it's because I'm slower or if I know time is running out that I push myself. But I'm involved in so many organizations. I mean, I only went to bed at 2 o'clock this morning. Yeah, I'm sitting again, but helping people wherever I can. But that's my little point. I just woke up with this morning, old age. Or even yesterday morning, doing a 2 hour stint. I'll send a photo of that too. I've picked up weight since my last training. I trained last. We had a karate stint. Before I just talk about training, we had a little karate stint with just the senior guys. That's the senseis. That's third dan up in Swakopmund. And I can tell you my body is aching like hell because this is the first time I'm trained. I trained since August after my little hiccup with the big C, the operation. So, but you know what? I got up and went to train while you were sitting watching rugby or whatever. So I'm on the right track in my old age, even as difficult. All right, let's move on to a few things. I have noted the fact that I actually forgot that, Fossey, you're reminding me about I've spoken to a couple of people on the photo I'm going to send, well, I have sent Fossey already. It was two mulatto kids. Now, mulatto is basically what we call a colored. It's a Portuguese, white Portuguese with a black Portuguese. So it's the name for the colored in Angola. And in 1983 or 84, I think it was 83 or 84, I spoke to CB van Zyl. CB van Zyl was an officer and he was in charge of the company at that stage. CB is another guy I would like to get on this channel. CB's got a big hole in his leg and in his calf from a mortar in a contact. Nice guy and lives in Swakopmund. If he doesn't want to be interviewed on this channel, I might interview him for our book. So we're going to get you. You're not going to run. There's nowhere to hide. But CB and them arrived in a kraal in Avamboland. And here were these two kids that are virtually white. You'll see the photo when Fossey posts it. Abandoned. That was the war. How long they had been in that kraal, we don't know. It's a big mystery. I didn't get enough from CB as he was at a function when I called him. But at the end of the day, CB wanted to bring them back to Namibia or to Southwest Africa those days. Because it's just in our upbringing, how can you leave kids? So he felt it his responsibility. I think he was told to leave them. I'm not sure. I cannot speak on behalf of him, but it dawned on us quite a while back. And in December, we got at a little 3132 little old boys get together in Swakopmund, and me and CB spoke about this too. And it's CB's passion to try and find what happened to these kids. I mean, I would love to hear their story, how they ended up where they were. Remember, this was war, and you got collateral damage everywhere, and that's the saddest part of war is the two guys being upset or two factions being upset with each other, beating the hell out of each other, and people get in the way and they take a blow or two too. And this is the sad part of it all. So yes, to find those two kids would be great. I've got Ana Maria Miranda, a Portuguese, also from refugee descent. She's also on her father was involved. I'm not going to, well, I don't want to mention too much about him. I want him to speak himself because he comes from a Portuguese background in Angola, and the organizations he worked for might be scary for him. So I don't want to say too much, but I'll leave that over to him. But in any case, she's on it also. And speaking to Dani also on Friday after speaking to Fossey, Dani told me a story about Op Savannah, where some officer, I don't know if it was a commandant or whatever, but also had found or helped a lady give birth to a little boy. And I must get that from Dani too. I will send that to Fossey to put an insert. But the guy was given a name basically because of the officer that helped with his birth. But in 2013, the Opsavana veterans basically decided to try and find this guy. And lo and behold, through the Brazilian embassy, they found him in Brazil. And, you know, it's things like this that we don't realize. There's a war. We live the moment. The repercussions we don't follow. Some suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that. But hey, the people that were involved, that were there on the ground, they have a story too. So this is a time for Legacy maybe to even interview some of these people that were caught up in the. I spoke to Carlos. It's now in Durban, as a old friend, and all these things sort of hit me in the holidays. Carlos is a guy that I went to his wedding. He's divorced now. Worked a while in Mozambique. Very nice guy, but he was one of the refugees too that had no parents, basically, that was taken up by a guy in Windhoek. And through the years, being a partner with this specific guy, I met Carlos. And I think Carlos is another story, you know, being deserted as a little boy, taken into a house by a local person. There are many stories, folks. Many, many stories. It's not just about bang, bang, boom, boom. It's about basically what were the repercussions. Don't focus only on yourself. So even these stories are unreal. I looked at Andrew Whittaker talking about the 6-1 kids, children born into it. Unreal idea. I didn't think, you know, a lot of people say the kids are not interested. Sorry, they are. They just don't know what to talk about because the history's been so warped by the powers to be. It's just that way. All right, and enough of that. Let me just touch on a few points that I missed. While in the commandos, like I mentioned, the buttermill concept was coming into play. Well, it actually started already, even though I was in the commandos. We were assigned the first colored group, old people. I'm not talking about youngsters called up. These were locals in town that were called up, and we had 20. And I in person with a lieutenant, Andries Olivier, good guy. We were assigned to train this group of 20. We also had a lot of fishermen of the white side, doctors and stuff that were. Buttermilk had come into play already via the commando. And guys were called up. I mean, my uncle was called up, my Dr. Roberts, all people, my senior, they double my age. I had to train these people. And that is also why I ended up in PF when Colonel van der Riet saw my ability. Don't want to blow small biggle, it is about me. But this is how I became a PF. Part of the story that's hidden. But still today, when I pass some of these, okay, many have passed on, but even Dr. Robertson and stuff, when I see him, the first thing comes up about was his little time in the commando. My uncle talks about his beard, that the gas masks and stuff, he couldn't take part in that because of his beard, because the gas leaks in, we all know, tear gas. When I see these colored guys, they come to attention. Some even salute me still. So it goes about respect. I wasn't one of those, anyone that knows me, I wasn't that hierdie woman, die woman, soveel push-ups and so and so. No. The respect I got by speaking to people. I still speak when I have a problem. Many people go out for the first. Yes, I did that, like I mentioned in my first, I think my first or second one, I'm not sure. But I'm also human. Push me, and we go that way. I mean, I can send you photos of. I won't send it because I have respect for the guy, the corporal that I gave a bit of a PT situation in Tembisa. Well, he deserved it. He actually threatened me, not threatened me, said to me, Sergeant, one day, comes from a wealthy family, one day you might work for me. Hell, I wish he did find me and let me work for him because with my skin color and my gender, being male and stuff, we're at the bottom of the food chain. So if you're out there, it's too late. You never met that threat that you had. It was a good threat. I had a good laugh. Right, and then respect also. Respect comes on understanding cultures, and this is one thing we learned already early stage being at 3-1 Battalion. I'm just going to rush through a few points that I jotted down, but respect comes from understanding cultures. I've at my old age have decided to learn Avambo. We did learn a few words in our time in the army, but I learned keywords like thank you and returning it like thank you is da bandula, and the person would answer you ewa, or if he really wants to push the whole thing, then it'd be tangi oneni. And I walk into a restaurant and I start talking to these people, and I start talking. I order a double in Bali, brandewijn and Coke, things like that. Umea. And they don't have a word for sparkling. So I say Umea or Babla. But just that little bit of communication with other cultures open doors. When I return to a restaurant, when I stop at a roadblock, when things like that, and the guys have met me, they treat me with respect. So respect isn't a kanyo moer. Verskoon my, what you call it? No, that is the army respect. That pushes me back onto to my karate. When we train in karate, we have a structural situation, a lot of discipline, everything. The only difference between karate and the army is the fact that in the army we were forced, and you had forced discipline. That's my rank. Salute me. In karate, it's not. If you don't like it, you pack your bags and you leave. A lot has changed, I must say, over the years, and I hope a lot of karate guys are listening. Not me, or not but the guys' numbers in any organization is important because it pays the bills, and any organization has bills. But you decide, like yesterday morning, for 2 hours, we went out, we trained diligently. For what? For what? For myself. And the respect, the terminology, the bowing, and so and so. Yes, I know people have come to me. I've even had ministers that approach me on the eastern side. All this hoo-ha, conspiracies and stuff. I hate them. Think. I had a minister come and see me in my younger days, having a dojo in Walfish Bay, being involved in the army, and he came to see me in Germany. I'm married in the NG church. I'm actually a Baptist. I don't go to church because I'm deaf and I fall asleep in church. It was with my sleep apnea. So I've got nothing against religion. So if you don't see me in church, don't judge me. It's not for you to judge. And I don't like the judging game. But Domini Lema came to see me, and he said to me, Ziggy, blah, 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 your karate and so, and as a minister, so I said to him, Domini, listen to me. I've done nearly 20 years of karate at that stage. I know what I'm doing. You're a minister. You've studied theology. When you come and see me, come and speak about theology, I will speak to you about karate. And I gave him a stupid example of him being a chaplain. I have to salute him. What makes him so important? His degree in so-and-so. You walk past a flag. You salute the flag. Isn't that symbolism? Well, karate, basically, I don't have to go into the whole story. No, there's no mumbo jumbo. I mean, I've had people go up in front of a church, people that I knew more about, go and burn their karate pack and burn their black belt. The guy wasn't even a black belt. Burn his trophies. He never earned it. Be careful of who you listen to. Here we sit now again in front of the camera, in front of this thing, and I'm being judged. That is the point in life. People are too judgmental nowadays. Focus on yourself first, then focus on others. And if you see there's a deficit, like the class that we had yesterday, we had a lot of old toppies, not all of us. You'll see the photo, there's a couple of young guys too. But we're not perfect. The guys help me, I help them. I cannot do what the young people can do, but I have the knowledge. So yeah, the judgmental part goes back to respect and discipline. and the fact that I'm saying learn cultures. Back to Otter's duty-free shop. I mentioned that I was the first person. No, I was not I. We were the first people in Africa to open a duty-free shop in Walfish Bay. That's just after independence, and the Russians and East Bloc came to milk our oceans over here. Sadly, powers to be let them. I mean, you don't just harvest crazy. You live for the next day. But in any case, the Russian fleet was massive. So Weitenauer from Switzerland and Voca Freight Services and Walfish Bay Shipshiners, the three groups, formed the Artist Duty Free Shop. Now, I physically had a lot to do with the Russians, and even there, Dobroden, Kaksi, Barko, and all those things, Russian words. You had to learn. But I'm telling you one thing. I don't think the Russians were a good fighting force. It's the people that I worked with in the harbor were also low income with the communist situation of you just part of the organization, irrelevant, you get your tuppence and hoo-ha. So that is why we assume they're good fighters. But it was the lowest of low people. And I don't want to insult anyone, but, you know, I would rock up at the boat to deliver their booze and stuff. It goes into a holding. It's not allowed to be consumed unless they're out of the bounds. It goes to a bonded store on the boat. But I would be invited to go on that boat to go and drink. And, sorry, I would never. I know of guys, stevedoring guys, who ended up out in the bay only to be fetched by a tug later on because these guys drink vodka. Half a Tupperware, a yogurt little jar of vodka, and they sit with bread. They sip this thing. I mean, I'm talking about Moskovskaya, Stolochnaya, the vodkas that I used to sell. I even had one that was called Alcool. Alcool is a French product. It was 98% volume. No, sorry. I'm not going to. Most people bought that to clean. It was so cheap. It was only for a liter. It was R8.50. It was still rand. Yeah, no, it was Namibian dollars already. We're already in Namibia, but 8 Namibian. But it's equivalent to the rand. But drink that stuff. I mean, your brain cells die. All right. That was just basically cultures and things. I mentioned the karate. While in PF, I'm going to need to mention two more things. Being the spaarwiel, the spare tire in SO2 opleiding under Major Tron, and sitting in media because of my talents, there was many times I was assigned funny little jobs, being a senior person, knowing Walfish Bay. A time where they tested the police rocked up here with a Casper. I think it was the Turbo 2 or whatever, it's a Casper Wolf or whatever. But this thing had turbo and all that stuff. And I sat for 2-3 days out in the desert with them, talking bull. That's what you do while these things are riding around and round and round. So yeah, that's a part of my experience that many people don't know. I actually have the photos. I don't think I'm going to find it in time for this thing, for this interview, because it's all very old photos. I also took a lot of photos having a Pentax K1000, which was a super thing. Now my cell phone takes better pictures than that expensive camera those days. But in any case, then one of the other ones was for Recce. For Recce rocked up. I happened to be walking in the lines when this bus, I don't know if I mentioned it anywhere before, but possibly, old age we repeat ourselves too. But for Recce turned up in Tusai, and that was 86 or 87 time, if I speak to the guys. But yeah, this little 20-seater rocked up, and someone stuck his head out the window and shouted, "Ziggy!" Holy moly, here was Corporal Janssen van Vieren, Fires, my assistant platoon sergeant of Omega. This is like, you know, the first time I saw him since leaving Omega. Unreal. And Maddie's, Karate, Madam, also for Recce. mentioned him already too. I might even get a photo of both of them. But they had rocked up in Walfish Bay, obviously on their secret missions that they basically do. But I was assigned to 482 to, not as a operator. I'm not a wannabe. But in any case, I was assigned to take them around town and to wherever they wanted to be, I took them. Many places I took them into the desert on the nearby Rossing mine, and I was told to turn around after finding the spot and go back to base. I wasn't allowed to be part of any of their training, so I cannot say I was involved in anything. But they came to test two-wheelers and those days three-wheelers. The operation was being planned to basically enter Angola from the coast, which Forekkie was basically their sort of field, because as divers and stuff, they would enter via ship. One of the guys actually broke his back on one of the two-wheelers. I ended up designing a T-shirt for them with this guy flying through the air. I don't know how serious he was, but that was what we, in the army, even in a moment of disaster, we saw humor. But I did a T-shirt for Forekkie. I don't know if any of them, I might have a picture. I'll find it. If I do find it, I will also send it to Fossie. But that's just a quick little brief on my military career. I think I am finished with Army. What this program is basically mainly based on. But now after the Army, my work, which I also wanted to talk to Fossie about. Yeah, I ended up doing work for Pitnukia, ended up making a couple of suggestions, and that was in about 2009 or somewhere along there that I made my first design for Pitnukia. I think it's the design that's on the book also. But a few years later, in 2011 or 12, I got a call from a guy in South Africa, a jeweler. I'm not going to mention his name. The guys can draw the dotted lines. This is ugly of me, but I warned the chappie. I mean, I don't like being used and abused, but we started military jewelry. Why military jewelry? I have a passion of redesigning all the military units. When I say all, I don't even charge when I actually design a military badge. I don't charge for the design, because knowing that most units were so massive that, and knowing that this is where my business started in the army, of realizing that here's numbers, footer, as you will call it, here's numbers, and I could design T-shirts and you name it, and an extra tuppence to afford to still afford the life that I was used to on a lance corporal's pay. So adapt or die. But yeah, again, history repeats itself, and I'm in a position, I still am in the position, I still do a lot of different things, as you will see on my my limited web page. It's very outdated. I think Fossie watched it over the weekend, and he will post the link also. That's some of my work. I will also, in the meantime, add, I update it when I get, I've got Instagram, I've got Facebook, I've got, in this industry, sitting in Namibia, far away from everything, no footer, you've got to use every possible resource to earn an income, or you can go sell cooksters on a street corner. But there's always a solution. And this is my point. I'm not begging you. I'm doing work all over the world. I'll mention that just now. I will where my new approach has turned. My focus has always been the army. But I can tell you one thing. I'm quite disappointed with the army guys. Everyone wants everything for nothing, because there's so many guys that are jumping on this bandwagon, flooding the market with crap. And I see people use funny words on this channel, so I say it straight, with crap. And then to judge my work to the crap you're getting, bye-bye. This work that I get, the income that I get, I can afford a Porsche. So yeah, you guys grab on. But the Porsche that I can afford is a Porsche chips from the fish and chip shop down the road. Don't think I'm making money. I'm enjoying it, and it puts a bit of food on my table. So yeah, my prices are not cheap. I will get to my new approach. But like I said, the army guys want it for nothing. And, we used to bitch as troops and so about food, about this. We're still in that. If you just go on Facebook and you look at all the conspiracy theories and the bitching, you'd swear that each of us can run this world. And I get problems, problems, problems. But yet, you can buy my product if you want, and you can decide if it's quality or not. If it's not, let me know, and I'll try and improve. That's the way I work. If I got a problem with what you give me or what you tell me, pick up the phone, speak to the guy, and we sort it and we move on. I've taught him something, and I've learned something. That's the process. All right. And why the army also? Why the army designs? There's already network set up. Even Legacy is a network. Legacy is using me for my story, and so that I can be ridiculed by all those thousands out there. But at the end of the day, they have offered to advertise my business. Logistics is my biggest problem. I mean, me and Fossi spoke about something before this little chat here, and logistics is, but there's always a solution. I have a logistical guy in Cape Town that sends all my things out. He gets a tuppence. If you want a slice of the cake, you pay for it. Now, I pay the guys that do my logistics in South Africa are younger people that volunteered, and I trust them. They haven't dropped me to date yet. If you drop me, this for pay. It's the same when I get back to this jeweler. Short and sweet, the jeweler had this dream. And hey, yeah, I've got the talent. He's a qualified jeweler. I cannot do what he can do, and he cannot do what I can do. Therefore, we have a synergy, we have a link. I started designing, obviously, we started with 3-2 because everyone assumes they 3-2. I'm glad that 3-2 has put a lot of restrictions, and they before I do anything from 3-2, 6-1 is very strict too. 3-1 has also imposed that situation. You get permission first. The guys don't turn you down, but you have to offer a quality service for the guys. And if you don't get the approval, don't break them down. I mean, who wants a 3-2 battalion picture on a pair of panties or underpants or something like that? I'm telling you, I'm not talking nonsense. In the beginning, when I started this line of business, there were sites out there, and there are even guys that are very prominent on Facebook, ex-military guys who actually were currently in the military. I don't know where they are now, but they were selling. I know it's a platform where the Americans or whoever, the Chinese, have a platform. They do, if you just send art, and they basically do. So when they advertise it on cups, on T-shirts, on caps. Those are the things that we like. But they even have it on panties. Now, some units probably put on the reverse side. Sorry, that is nearly like me. But it's just the gist of the thing, the patheticness. But this guy started selling my stuff, and one night I ended up with a unit, no unit names, so we keep it between ourselves. But the guy started questioning me about my product. I had put the unit with a Jägermeister sort badge, St. Vester, together, but that's what my client wanted. But in this process, I decided, okay, you're taking me on. He knows who he is. He might watch us. If he doesn't watch it, bad luck. I'm not out to break any person down personally. But I said to the guy, sorry, sir, you have, I didn't call him sir, I think we were equivalent rank. If I'd carried on, equivalent in the commando yard. But you have a ring, you have a chain, you have a badge of your unit on you. Would you buy counterfeit stuff? And he was out to attack me because of what I had posted on Facebook. And it ended up, and this was live. Some guys like to throw it on Facebook Live. But I said to him, "So, at the end of the day, your ring, your chain, your badge on your biker of your unit are all my designs. Sadly, I have not received a penny. So you buying counterfeit stuff. The guy that is doing it has stolen my design and selling them as his. I was supposed to get a commission. To date, I'm still waiting for that commission. So yeah, I exposed the guy without mentioning his name. The guy that attacked me basically removed the whole post from Facebook. He's obviously had seen, since then we spoke here and there, he's faded away. I'm not that active on Facebook. I'm too busy. Facebook, hierdie face, that's what some people like about Facebook. I use Facebook as one of my advertising platforms. Move a lot to Instagram because it's more, it's clean. You don't have this attack. I mean, even just recently, things I'm doing, and it's not only South African, not only Army. I have guys from a guy from Australia this weekend asked me the designs that I'm doing now, the laser coins. What do people use it for? Well, I can only tell him, sorry, sir, but you're not in the creative market. You bought a machine that can do things and you have no idea of how to utilize it. I've got guys asking me for more. This brings me to my new approach. My son said to me, Dad, he told me years back, Dad, use the internet. Sell your designs. You want to sell a product. Logistics kills you. And I didn't listen to Sean. And after my operation and stuff, I lay in hospital. You got time, you pray. And you expect a Porsche, like let's go back to the Porsche. You expect a Porsche or something to land up on your lap. No, you get the answers. And the method of getting answers sometimes is life knocking you down to relax, to review your life, to lie in hospital. And I started thinking of what Sean had told me. Here you are. You've got a serious sickness. Thank heavens. That's why I say it. I mean, Andrew also touches on HP's situation about belief. So to believe is not just to pray and expect like instant pudding, instant coffee. And no, there's always work or some other way. But I lay in hospital and I thought about this thing and I decided, well, let's try, because here comes a lot of expenses. I don't think my medical aid would cover everything. My wife, Janita, being a very, very strong Christian, said, we will believe. We will get through this. And it's true. I started using the internet, it was August. September, my op was in August. September was still sort of shaking the wool off my eyes and things like that. And not feeling sorry, but starting to plan. And in October, I started. And again, this weekend, I made mega sales on the internet. I made mega sales. I'm going to start focusing on the internet, because you don't speak to the client. You have no communications with him. He can contact you, but not directly through the platform. So he can abuse you like he wants. You just ignore him and move on. And you can speak to him, because yes, he might be a client that comes back. But I started using the internet, and it's a total new approach. Hopefully one day I can afford a real Porsche, but that's not my objective. My objective is to enjoy my last few days that are given to me. So yeah, Sean, thank you, my boy. If you watch this, I know you watched the first one. Then if you watch the second one, I don't force anyone to watch. You're not forced to watch Legacy. You watch it if you want to. If you've got criticism, pick up the phone and speak to the damn guy. All right. Fossi, my whole end in this situation is, as a young man, I could have gone and done karate in America, in the Texas area. I used to buy the Black Belt and the martial arts, this and that magazines. I had piles of the stuff. We didn't have internet, so we read. That's why we wear these things. But this is also messing our eyes up, the internet. It comes with age. Something's got to break. So, yeah, I could have gone and given karate as a professional karate person. Paul Dennis, I mentioned him, did that. Met Paul Dennis, like I said, in a previous point, in karate, the military's karate. Paul, we still chat, and he's still professional. Also getting, I think Paul, I speak on a correction, must be about 59 or maybe even 60 already. Got no hair. I've still got hair, Paul. But Paul's very busy still and very inspirational. If I talk about age in karate, we yesterday spoke about movements and stuff of getting old. And even Trevor Norval, my chief instructor, my school friend, said to me yesterday after I was chat with him about the class, said to me, Ziggy, adapt the body or adapt the technique to the body. If you cannot do something, it's not a question of stopping, it's a question of adapting. And even our Psycho Shian, our main guy in Japan, who I've trained under, met everything, humble. You know, the Japanese have got a lovely culture. I see in his stances, yesterday I said to the guys, you guys watched a lot of video. Yes, use it as a guideline. But if you see Psycho Shian doing a certain stance and that's not the way. Look at his son. His son is taking over. The Japanese have a very family line. Our style started with Gordon Yamaguchi, who was known as the Cat. Now, Gordon Yamaguchi was a prisoner of war with the Americans, and that is where apparently our fist was designed as his fist drawn in prison. He was called the Cat eventually because of his stealth way of moving. The Americans gave him the nickname the Cat. This is the way I get the story. I'm not pushing history, but he trained until the day he passed. Psycho Shian, his son, is now 80 and still busy, and I cannot move like Psycho Shian. He's 80. I'm 63, turning 64. And yeah, it's a healthy life. Keep yourself busy. You'll go far. Okay. A lot of things like sickness and that can hit you. But back to the America. I didn't do it. My mother-in-law was alone here, and it was Trana. I now too, if my kids basically talk about moving away, I realize I cannot be selfish because it's their future. But I think with my ability, my drive, I don't have the paper studies. With my drive, my motivation, and my way of thinking, if I had moved, I probably wouldn't have done karate. I would have done other business because there's footer. And location. I'm located in Langstrand, Walfish Bay, small community, nice community, but I'm happy. So if I wanted to make mega bucks, I should have moved. I did make a move, like I mentioned earlier, to Windhoek. It turned out, well, it was great in the first few years, and we're not the writers of our, we're part of the writing. And yeah, those guys who are successful, hold on to your reins. that horse can throw you very quickly. But I'm happy. So I don't know if I've got anything else to say. If Fossi has any questions, you can ask me. If anyone has questions, send me a mail, send me a WhatsApp. I don't hide my numbers. It's on my Facebook. My email, I think, is on there. I must check if it's all right, because there was a stage where I had Omega Vets email. If anyone is using my Omega Vets, I'm still here. I haven't passed away or anything. That was closed when we closed the original WhatsApp web page of 31 Battalion. But that was my email. So if you think I'm running, no, I'm not running. All my information is on Facebook, on Instagram. I've still got the same cell phone number of my first phone. I'm too stupid to change numbers because I'll forget my own number. So, and emails I also keep the same right through my. So if you want to pop me a question, if you want to question anything I've said on this, even the jeweler that I mentioned here, I don't mention his name, anyone that I might have broken down and you need to talk about it, you've got my number, you've got my email, you'll find me. I'm on Facebook. I don't need to hide. And if I have unjustly taken on anyone or given any false information, accidentally so, I will actually contact Legacy and ask them just to pop it in the, what is it called? What is SITREP? In SITREP, that, of course, mentions that I do apologize for anything. My intent is not to hurt anyone. My time is running out. Why should I go out with a lot of enemies? They come naturally. You don't have to create it. You don't have to create any extra enemies. And again, I reach out and I ask all the guys out there. I must say, I've got people contacting me that I didn't think I would. Well, I don't know them, and just from Legacy. Um, I have not had any negative yet, because most of my friends that know me, when it comes to negative, I'm not going to shrivel up and fade away. I'm going to take you on. I don't know how to shut up. And I mean, you'll see on my interviews at Praat Baie, my wife always says, my man, you've got verbal diarrhea. So that's the opinion of my wife. And I live with her every day. Maybe because I'm deaf, I talk a lot because I don't hear other people and I get lonely. So I enjoy my own company. So that's Ziggy Hentze in a nutshell. The Viking, the whatever you want to call me, the onokopraalkie, the not a profession, not a master in karate. No, you never karate, you will never be a master. You learn every day. And that's the part in my life. It's one more thing that I want to. Years back, I said, if you've got 365 days in a year, if you learn just one thing each day, watching a movie, you can learn, reading a book, you can learn, meeting a person, you can learn. But if you think and you add those things, it's like studying. Life is a university. The university of life is what brought me where I am. So I pushed myself. I got myself to where I am in 3D. No one taught me. I taught myself, but it takes effort to sit down and to, when you say ek kan nie, don't say I cannot. The effort that you put into anything, it's your effort, and it pays back. It pays back. As an old man speaking, I wish I could turn back the clock with all the technology that we have at hand. I'm damn sure I would be further than I am now. I was going to look for the book I'm busy reading now. Don't read. You remember those bookies we had in the army, those Reiter and Swat and so and stuff. Even if I had to look at a Reiter and Swat book, even though I sit and force myself to watch a terrible movie, I try and find some form of information in it to feed this little thing. And I tell you, if I get nothing, it was bad. Because I've watched bad movies, and even there I've picked up things. If you look for it, you'll find it. You know, that's my point on that rainbow. With the follow your rainbows. It's not going to have what is called, not a chess, vierkant, what driepoot potjie with gold in it. You will generate your own gold. And yes, not all of us will make it to that gold. But don't look down on the person that's not making it, and again, don't be jealous on the guy that is making it. I'm not jealous on any of my friends that are wealthy. And I mean, someone in my family said to me, Ziggy, why are you always mixing with rich people? I said, why are you always focusing on riches? They're just normal people. If your toilet is golden lined and mine is not, a little bush in the field, we're both doing the same thing. A crude way of putting it, but at the end of the day, your life can change just like that. All right, Mensa. Fossie, thank you. Any questions you have? At the end of the day, if there's anything you need to ask, fire away. And I want to just say to you, and if you challenge me, send me a shit movie. Excuse my French again. Send me a bad movie and ask me to. It's going to cost you a drink or two, Enikis, when I meet you, because you wasted my time. But I'll find a bit of positivity in it. Seek positivity. We are too focused on negativity. Thanks, Fossie.
Ziggy, yes, I don't have any questions because as I've said before, I sit here engrossed and listening. I don't make notes. Two things that struck me, folk. Two things, and I think, well, I'm going to make it three things. Ziggy, our vintage, we've got hair. Maybe there's something in that. Yeah, I'm also a waffler. My wife calls me a waffler. So we've got lots of things in common apart from the vintage and the hair and the bar. Waffle King I am, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, that's not that's one of the three things. The positivity and learning every day. That's why you are positive, because you have gone by the principle of learning something every day. And I just want to add from my side, and I'm sure subconsciously you do this. If you can make somebody smile every day, that day's also been worth it. Down here, the website link will be, Ziggy's website link will be, and all the other links are there that he mentions, Instagram, blah, 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 those, all the book face and all those things. The links are on his website. So there, down here again, is Ziggy's website. I thought I was going to rattle it off there, but I I got it wrong, so I won't. I'll just say it's down here. Yes, Ziggy, you take it away.
Yeah. In the humor and stuff that you mentioned makes someone laugh. I think of the song. That's another thing that we have in common is music, and the song "Forever Young." Even though we know it's impossible, but the young is in here. And Forsey says his wife says he waffles away and so and so. Another thing my wife is famous for saying is "Jy's kinderagtig." You're childish. Whenever she wants to upset me, it doesn't upset me because now I know I'm forever young. My wife just called me a child. So she's married to a young man, not me to a young woman. So, yeah, that's a little, the jest I found. Being childish is basically my youth. So, fine. Fozzie, thanks a million. Viewers, thank a million. The challenge is still out there for a lot of you to this legacy must actually become a legacy. The legacy of being able to speak about yourself, irrelevant of, we hold back because we try and paint an image. I hope I haven't tried to make myself who I'm not, because I will tear my shirt open and you'll find an old chest. There's no Superman situation. I'm just a human being like you. So please, guys, share. Someone might find something positive. Thank you, Fossie.
I have a warning here that my internet is unstable. So I'm going to say to all of you out there, thank you.
Fossie, one more thing. Fossie, sorry, I got to stop you there. On music, that's a thought that I wanted to mention over the weekend. I thought about it, but music, like you'll see, music I love and Fossie loves. But when my kids were born, I signed a song to each of them. And Samantha, my daughter, it's a wild world. Go listen to the words. It's a message I gave my daughter, and I can remember driving out of Cape Town when she went to study at UCT. We took her up and dropped her off, and it was turmoil at the university. There wasn't enough this, there wasn't enough that, but driving out that real Western Cape weather with the rain and stuff, this whole thing, all of a sudden on the radio came Wild Word, and my wife started crying because we basically, and I must say, I also got because there our daughter was, our everything was left behind. And the other one that I assigned to my son was Father and Son. I love that song because it's actually, if you listen to the song, it's not just Cat Stevens singing. It's basically, he sings the father's part and he sings the son part. And you see conflict, yet they want to resolve things. And that's Sean's song. And I'm telling you, obviously, because I've assigned songs to my children, it does come up. It's not but it comes up in the right time. That's what hits me. It's when I really need some inspiration, some solace, something. I'm going through a bad time, and boom, the song comes up, and I pick up the phone and I phone my kids, and I tell them, hey, But in any case, that's it. Genoeg, want anders hou ek nie op nie. You're going to need a 10th, and people get bored. But in any case, all right, guys, I hope to see more. All right, just.
And I'm going to say, as we always say, Ziggy, thank you very, 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 very much for taking the time and for sitting down and chatting with us. And to all of you out there, as we say here, from Legacy Conversations, until we talk again, until we meet again, God bless.
Kapitawa opekawa bofalo Ongola ya wapakuru yetu Ketela wane namo